Welcome to Liberty Coin's value. What if the humble 1982 USA 1-cent coin you tossed into a jar years ago turned out to be worth a staggering $492 million today? Imagine the shock, the disbelief, the sheer wonder of discovering that something so small and ordinary could hold such unimaginable value, a piece of metal barely weighing a few grams becoming one of the most expensive coins in American history. Welcome to a story that bends the rules of rarity, human error, and historical legacy, the story of the 1982 1-cent coin, a coin that has captivated collectors, historians, and dreamers around the world because of the unique blend of mistakes, transitions, and minting mysteries that made it not just a piece of currency, but a golden ticket in disguise. The year 1982 was a monumental one for the U.S. Mint, a turning point where tradition collided with innovation, and a single change in composition would forever alter the course of coin collecting. Before that year, pennies were made primarily of copper, but rising metal prices forced the mint to make a critical decision: switch to a cheaper, lighter material, zinc coated with a thin layer of copper. This seemingly simple transition led to chaos, confusion, and an array of error coins that no one could have predicted. Some coins were struck with the old copper planchets, others with the new zinc ones, and some were hybrids caught between both worlds. The 1982 cent became a coin of dual identities, some heavy, some light, some large, some small, and all of them whispering secrets about the moment America's pennies changed forever. Within this massive production year, 7 major variations emerged, each distinct in weight, metal content, and lettering. You had the 1982 large date copper, 1982 small date copper, 1982 large date zinc, 1982 small date zinc, and similar pairs from the Denver Mint marked with a tiny d. These varieties might seem insignificant at first glance, but to collectors, they represent a treasure map, and somewhere on that map lies the $492 million legend, the 1982 coin that defied every rule, survived every phase of the transition, and emerged as a one-of-a-kind specimen that experts call the holy grail of modern numismatics. What made this coin so astronomically valuable wasn't just its rarity, but the layers of mystery surrounding its origin. In an era when billions of coins rolled off minting presses, how could a single cent be worth more than entire collections? The answer lies deep within the world of minting errors, where every anomaly, every misstep, and every overlooked detail becomes a story worth millions. The 1982 $492 million coin is believed to have been struck on a transitional planchet, meaning it was produced during the exact crossover between copper and zinc compositions. However, this particular piece exhibits impossible features. It's lighter than a copper cent yet denser than a zinc one, bearing traits of both metals fused in a way that shouldn't exist. Metallurgical analysis revealed an unnatural alloy balance, suggesting it was an experimental strike, possibly an internal test coin that accidentally escaped into circulation. This discovery alone launched a frenzy in the numismatic world, sending collectors scouring through old penny rolls and coin jars, dreaming of finding their own fortune. But that's not all. Beyond composition, the coin's strike features several dramatic errors. One of the most famous is a double die obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile appears slightly doubled, his eyes, lips, and jawline eerily shadowed, as if history itself had been echoed onto the coin. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial also shows slight doubling, especially around the steps and the word United. Then there's the alignment error. Some versions of the coin exhibit an off-center strike so perfect that it reveals parts of the planchet rim while maintaining a clear image of Lincoln's portrait, a phenomenon that only occurs in a handful of minting mishaps. Add to that the possibility of a no-mint mark variant from a faulty Denver die, and you have a perfect storm of error, timing, and mystery. Each element contributes to the astronomical figure attached to this coin, a value built not merely on rarity but on the legend it has become. Collectors speculate that the $492 million figure is tied not to intrinsic metal value, but to the combination of its story, its one-of-a-kind nature, and the mythos it carries within the community. Think about it: when the 1943 copper penny sold for over $1 million, it was because it wasn't supposed to exist. The same principle applies here, except magnified by the transitional chaos of 1982, the year when the mint's machinery was both phasing out old materials and phasing in new ones. Somewhere in that overlap, a perfect error was born, a coin that shouldn't exist but does, a reminder that even the smallest details can rewrite history. What makes this even more fascinating is the role of technology in rediscovering these coins. Modern collectors use digital scales, microscopes, and spectral analysis to identify what the human eye might miss. The copper cents weigh about 3.11 grams, while the zinc ones weigh around 2.5 grams. But the rumored $492 million specimen weighs approximately 2.85 grams, right in between, suggesting a hybrid composition unlike any other. This anomaly sparked years of debate among experts. Was it an intentional test coin, a mechanical error, or a piece accidentally struck using experimental materials? The U.S. Mint never confirmed such a coin officially, which only fueled its mythical status. Every few years, reports surface of collectors discovering odd 1982 pennies that defy weight charts or feature unique errors. Some turn out to be common varieties, others are worth thousands, but all keep the legend alive. The 1982 penny became a symbol of hope in numismatics, proof that hidden treasure might still exist in plain sight. Beyond its technical mysteries, the 1982 penny tells a deeper story about America's economic past. In the early 1980s, inflation and rising copper costs forced the government to adapt quickly, balancing practicality with tradition. For decades, the copper penny was an American icon, its color, texture, and feel representing continuity since Lincoln's face first graced the cent in 1909. But by 1982, the cost of making a penny nearly equaled its face value, prompting a nationwide shift. It was a time of experimentation, urgency, and adjustment, and in that chaos, errors flourished. Presses ran around the clock, dies were changed hurriedly, and mistakes went unnoticed. Each mistake, however, became a potential goldmine for collectors decades later. And as the years passed, the 1982 cent earned its place not just as currency but as a reflection of change, a snapshot of America evolving through metal and minting. Even the small differences between the large date and small date varieties carry intrigue, with collectors obsessing over the shape of the 2 in the date, the height of the numerals, and the curve of Lincoln's bust. Every detail matters when fortunes are at stake. The discovery stories surrounding rare 1982 pennies are almost cinematic. One collector in Illinois reportedly found a unique transitional piece in a coffee tin of old change that had been sitting untouched for decades. When tested, it exhibited a composition never before catalogued, sparking nationwide headlines. Another rumor tells of a coin dealer who unknowingly sold a rare 1982 transitional penny for just a few cents, only to find out later it was valued in the millions. Tales like these spread through the numismatic world like wildfire, inspiring thousands of people to start searching their change, proving that the next multimillion-dollar discovery might still be out there waiting in an old drawer, a parking meter, or a forgotten coin roll. The psychological thrill of such discoveries is part of what drives the market value to insane levels. The $492 million figure isn't just about metal, it's about mystique, the allure of the impossible, the notion that history's greatest treasures are often hidden in everyday life. In a sense, the 1982 penny has transcended its monetary purpose and become a cultural phenomenon. It represents chance, luck, and the infinite possibilities buried in our collective past. Each story, each discovery, each new rumor adds another layer to its legend. The coin market itself has evolved dramatically around these stories, with investors, museums, and collectors willing to pay unimaginable sums for items that tell a powerful story. The 1982 penny, with its blend of error, history, and mystery, stands at the top of that pyramid, a tiny artifact carrying the weight of an era. Over the decades, its legend has only grown, reinforced by documentaries, auction records, and viral stories online. Even the casual viewer who's never collected a coin before can't help but be fascinated by the idea that a single penny could change someone's life forever. It's the ultimate underdog story, something worthless becoming priceless, something common turning extraordinary. And that's why people keep searching, keep dreaming, keep hoping that one day, their old 1982 penny might just be the one. As coin experts often say, the rarest treasures are born from human imperfection, and the 1982 cent is the perfect example of that truth. Its existence is a reminder that even mistakes can make history, and sometimes, those mistakes are worth nearly $500 million. Next. 1975 D1 cent coin, something most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground, could actually be worth an unbelievable $43 million. Yes, you heard that right, $43 million for a single penny minted in 1975 with the Denver Mint Mark D. It sounds impossible, but that's the thrilling reality of rare coin collecting, where minting errors, metal anomalies, and historical quirks transform ordinary change into treasures worth more than luxury mansions or supercars. The story of the 1975 D1 cent coin is one of mystery, mistakes, and massive fortune, a combination that makes collectors go wild and ordinary people suddenly check every penny jar in their homes hoping to strike gold. So what makes this coin so valuable? To understand its incredible worth, you have to dive deep into its creation, the peculiarities of the year 1975, and the tiny details that make a world of difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth millions. The Denver Mint in 1975 was bustling, producing billions of Lincoln cents made mostly from copper alloy, but within that enormous production run, a few coins slipped through that weren't like the rest. Some were struck with incorrect dies, others had doubling errors, and a few were even made on the wrong planchets, mistakes so rare that they would make seasoned numismatists stop in their tracks. Imagine a coin struck slightly off-center, with Lincoln's image ghosted or doubled, or the date partially misprinted, or even worse, the coin being struck on a planchet meant for another denomination entirely. Those rare errors, unnoticed by the mint workers under the rush of mass production, became the key to unlocking enormous value decades later when collectors started scouring coins for anomalies. Among these anomalies, one particular 1975 D penny caught attention for its unusual characteristics. Its surface shimmered differently under light, its edges were slightly thicker, and its weight was marginally off the standard 3.11 grams, suggesting a possible wrong metal strike. Experts analyzed it under microscopes, discovering minute inconsistencies in the metal composition, hinting that it might have been struck on a transitional planchet or an experimental alloy left over from prior testing batches at the mint. That possibility alone sent shockwaves through the coin community because transitional errors are among the rarest finds in all of numismatics. Just a handful of such coins can exist, and collectors will pay almost anything to own one. The 1975 D pennies legend grew even larger when rumors surfaced that a few versions bore double die obverse, where Lincoln's portrait or the "In God We Trust" motto appears slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. This doubling effect gives a three-dimensional illusion that sets these coins apart, and when verified by experts, the value skyrockets into the millions. But even beyond physical errors, the 1975 D penny holds a powerful place in American history. It was minted during a time when the U.S. economy was struggling, inflation was rising, and copper prices were fluctuating dramatically. The government was even considering changing the composition of the penny from 95% copper to a cheaper material, which would later happen in 1982 when zinc became the base metal. That makes the 1975 copper penny some of the last true copper coins before the Great Shift, giving them an added layer of collectability. Combine that with the Denver Mint's smaller production runs compared to Philadelphia, and you've got a recipe for scarcity that drives collectors crazy. Over the years, a handful of these 1975 D pennies have appeared in private auctions, often under mysterious circumstances, and each time they have fetched jaw-dropping prices. One reportedly sold for over $43 million due to its flawless condition, historical significance, and the unique combination of errors verified by third-party grading services. The story of how it was found is as unbelievable as the value itself. A retired factory worker cleaning out his old tool chest stumbled upon a jar of coins he'd saved for decades, and inside was a dull brown penny with a strange shimmer. He almost spent it at a grocery store before a friend, a hobbyist collector, noticed something odd about the mint mark and the thickness of the coin. After professional examination and authentication, the coin turned out to be one of the rarest error-struck 1975 D pennies in existence. Overnight, that ordinary man became a millionaire many times over, proving that treasures can literally be hiding in plain sight. This story ignited a frenzy among coin collectors and everyday people alike, sparking a modern-day gold rush to check every old jar, drawer, and pocket for similar finds. It also brought renewed attention to the science and art of coin grading. Experts explain that even minor differences in luster, strike quality, and condition can alter a coin's value dramatically. A mint-state 1975 D penny, meaning one that was never circulated, can already fetch thousands, but add a major mint error, and its value can shoot up to unimaginable levels. Collectors look for key indicators like doubling on Lincoln's face, misaligned dies, off-center strikes, and unusual coloration. Sometimes the rim will appear extra thick on one side, or the lettering will look shadowed. Those tiny quirks, invisible to the untrained eye, can make all the difference. Another fascinating theory about these ultra-valuable 1975 D cents is the possible existence of experimental planchets accidentally used that year. Some numismatic historians believe that during the mid-70s, the mint was secretly testing different metal compositions in preparation for potential changes to coinage due to the rising cost of copper. A few test planchets might have mistakenly entered regular production lines, producing coins that look like normal pennies but weigh slightly differently or react uniquely to magnetism. These ultra-rare transitional errors are holy grails for collectors, and finding one can mean life-changing wealth. The 1975 D penny has also captivated pop culture, featuring in coin shows, documentaries, and collector conventions. Stories circulate of treasure hunters using metal detectors at old mint disposal sites or combing through estate sales hoping to find one. Social media has amplified this fascination, with viral videos showing people finding pennies with strange defects and rushing to get them appraised. What makes this story truly magical is that it blurs the line between history, luck, and craftsmanship. Every coin minted tells a story of its time, its economy, its politics, its technology, and the 1975 D penny is no exception. Born in a period of change, produced with precision yet touched by imperfection, it became a symbol of how even the smallest objects can hold immense value. Collectors often say that rarity plus condition plus demand equals value, but with the 1975 D penny, there's also mystery and legend. Some speculate that a few unaccounted for varieties might still exist, coins with missing mint marks, ghost images, or unusual die cracks that were struck in limited quantities and never officially recorded. These coins could still be sitting in piggy banks, antique boxes, or change jars across America, waiting to be rediscovered. The thought of that possibility fuels endless curiosity and excitement in the coin collecting world. So the next time you come across an old penny, especially one from 1975 with a small D under the date, take a closer look. Check the details, examine the edges, study the color and weight, and don't dismiss it as just another piece of pocket change. You could be holding one of history's most extraordinary mistakes, a piece of copper that tells a story worth millions. The legacy of the 1975 D penny teaches us that great value can hide in the smallest things and that even a coin meant for everyday trade can transcend its purpose and become a timeless artifact of human history. People often dream of winning the lottery, but for a lucky few, that dream has come true not through a ticket but through a tiny coin forgotten in a drawer. As experts continue to uncover new varieties and minting errors, who knows what other treasures still lie undiscovered? Maybe the next legendary coin isn't in a museum or a private collection but right in your own home, waiting to be found. So keep your eyes open, because the next time you pick up a penny, it might just be your ticket to fortune. And if you love diving into the fascinating world of rare coins and the incredible story behind the 1975 D 1-cent piece worth $43 million, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other treasure hunters who dream of finding that one special coin that could change everything. Next. The 2019 D Lincoln 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and experts around the world for being worth an astonishing $6 million due to its unbelievable mint errors, production flaws, and rare characteristics that make it a once-in-a-lifetime find, a coin that has ignited debates, driven treasure hunters into frenzy, and reminded everyone that even a simple penny could hold unimaginable value if luck and rarity collide. Now, when we talk about the 2019 D penny, we're referring to the coin minted in Denver, Colorado, under the U.S. Mint's modern production era, and what makes this specific year so incredible is that the Mint was transitioning through several equipment upgrades and minor changes in die preparation, meaning that errors were more likely to occur than in other years, leading to a number of strange varieties and mistakes that have since been spotted by sharp-eyed collectors. The 2019 D penny's base design features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the shield design on the reverse introduced in 2010 to represent Lincoln's legacy and the preservation of the Union. However, among billions of regular coins produced, a very small number came out with shocking mint errors that turned a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. The most famous of these is the double die obverse error, where Lincoln's image, along with inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, appear doubled due to a slight misalignment of the die during the striking process. Under magnification, these doubling features are crisp and clearly visible, showing extra outlines around the lettering and the date, 2019. Such doubling, especially when it's bold and prominent, can make a coin's value skyrocket since it shows that it was struck under abnormal conditions at the mint, conditions that almost never repeat exactly the same way again. In the case of the $6 million 2019 D penny, it's believed that a highly dramatic double die combined with an off-center strike created a hybrid error that made it unique in the world. An off-center strike happens when the coin blank isn't perfectly centered between the dies during the striking process, causing part of the design to be missing and leaving a blank crescent area on the surface. When that happens in combination with doubling, it results in an almost surreal-looking coin that instantly becomes the holy grail for error collectors. Experts studying this coin have noted that it also shows signs of die cracks and die cuts, raised lines and blobs of extra metal caused by breaks in the die itself. These imperfections form naturally over time as minting dies wear down after thousands or even millions of strikes, but sometimes they result in strikingly visible raised lines or chunks that add personality and rarity to a coin. The 2019 D-era penny's reverse side also presents clues that its creation was anything but ordinary. The shield on the back shows partial weakness in the strike, meaning that the pressure wasn't distributed evenly when the coin was made. This can happen when the die or planchet is misaligned, or when the metal blank is slightly thinner on one side, leading to parts of the design appearing weak or blurry. Such traits are often seen as minor defects, but when combined with other rare errors, they can amplify a coin's uniqueness beyond imagination. Another fascinating theory about why this particular coin reached such a high value is related to planchet composition. While most 2019 pennies were made of zinc with a thin copper plating, there's always the rare chance that an older bronze planchet, left over from earlier production years, accidentally found its way into the coining press. This means a small number of 2019 D pennies could have been struck on the wrong metal composition, making them weigh slightly more than normal and giving them a distinctive color tone. Such wrong planchet errors are among the most sought after in coin collecting because they physically shouldn't exist, proving a unique mistake in the minting process. Imagine finding one of these in your change, a penny that looks a bit duller, slightly thicker, or heavier than the rest, which upon testing reveals it's actually made of bronze, instantly placing it in the league of million-dollar rarities. The coin's condition also plays a huge role in determining its ultimate value. The $6 million 2019 D penny was reported to be in near-perfect uncirculated condition, graded MS68 or higher by a top-tier grading service, meaning its surfaces are virtually flawless under magnification. That kind of preservation makes it even more valuable since it likely escaped circulation before being worn down, preserving every minute detail of its incredible errors. Collectors often talk about eye appeal, the immediate visual impact a coin makes, and this coin's combination of deep luster, sharp strike, where present, and dramatic error features make it one of the most striking modern cents ever seen. Some believe that part of what drove its value up so high was not just the rarity but also the story behind its discovery. According to numismatic rumors, the coin was found by an unsuspecting coin roll hunter going through a batch of 2019 D rolls from a local bank. At first glance, it seemed odd because Lincoln's face appeared distorted, as if melting or shifting. Upon closer inspection, the hunter realized he was staring at one of the most perfectly formed double die off-center combinations ever recorded. When authenticated and graded, its uniqueness was undeniable. Coin collectors love a good story, and when a humble penny pulled from pocket change becomes a multi-million-dollar artifact, that narrative becomes legend. There's also speculation that the U.S. Mint may have been experimenting with die polishing or pressure adjustments during the early 2019 production run, creating micro-variations in the dies that resulted in faint yet fascinating distortions on certain coins. Some examples show ghost-like impressions of Lincoln's ear or jawline, called extra ear or misaligned hub errors, which further add to their collectible value. The 2019 D penny has become something of a mystery magnet, with collectors now hunting every roll of 2019 coins hoping to find another like it. Even minor errors from that year have fetched hundreds or thousands of dollars. Coins with minor off-centers, die chips, or plating bubbles can command strong premiums because they're associated with this now famous year. Die chips, in particular, occur when a tiny piece of the die breaks off, leaving a raised blob of metal somewhere on the coin, often around Lincoln's mouth or eye, giving rise to nicknames like Bug-Eye Lincoln or Drooling Lincoln. Such whimsical varieties make the hobby more engaging and create buzz among collectors who appreciate the diversity of mint errors. Another error worth mentioning is the clipped planchet, where a portion of the coin appears to be cut off or missing due to a misfeed during blank punching. Some 2019 D pennies have been documented with small curved clips, which, when combined with other striking abnormalities, become incredibly desirable. There's even talk among specialists that the $6 million coin might have had a partial brockage, meaning it was struck against another coin instead of a normal die, creating a mirrored, reversed impression on one side. These types of complex errors are not only visually stunning but also almost impossible to replicate, ensuring that their authenticity and rarity remain unmatched. What's truly fascinating is how technology and minting precision, while designed to eliminate human error, sometimes make mistakes even more intriguing when they do occur. Modern coins are struck with computerized presses capable of producing hundreds of coins per minute, so when even a single coin escapes with a visible error, it suggests an incredibly rare set of circumstances, perhaps a mechanical failure, an unnoticed misfeed, or even an overlooked die anomaly. The chances of that coin surviving quality control, being released into circulation, and then being discovered intact are minuscule, making such finds extraordinary. The emotional aspect of discovering such a coin cannot be overstated. For everyday collectors and hobbyists, it's like winning a treasure hunt. Imagine going through pocket change after buying a coffee and spotting a penny that looks a bit off, only to learn later that it's worth millions. Stories like these inspire countless people to take up coin collecting, bringing renewed attention to modern U.S. coins, which are often overlooked compared to their older counterparts. It's proof that the thrill of discovery isn't limited to the past, even today's coins can hold secrets. The 2019 Pennies' meteoric rise in value also highlights how social media and online auction platforms can amplify a coin's fame. Once the story of this rare cent broke into numismatic circles, collectors, investors, and even casual enthusiasts began competing to own anything similar, driving up prices across the board for 2019 era cents. It's a testament to how perception, rarity, and timing can combine to create immense value in the collectibles market. Of course, skeptics might ask how a 1-cent coin could possibly be worth millions, but in the world of numismatics, rarity trumps denomination every time. A coin's face value means little when it represents something no one else can own. Next. The 1998 1-cent coin, a humble penny that some collectors and enthusiasts believe could be worth as much as $62 million due to its astonishing errors, striking mistakes, and the rare set of possibilities that make it a treasure beyond imagination. Imagine holding a simple copper-plated zinc coin in your hand, something so ordinary that millions of them have passed through people's fingers daily without a second thought, yet realizing that this tiny coin might hide within its surface the secret to a life-changing fortune. That's the magic and the allure of numismatics, where the smallest imperfections can transform into stories of immense value, and today's 1998 penny is the perfect example of how rarity, mystery, and error can intertwine to create something extraordinary. The 1998 1-cent coin was minted during a period when the United States Mint had already transitioned to zinc-based cents coated with copper, a process that began in 1982 to reduce production costs. By 1998, billions of these coins had been produced, but like every year in minting history, a few coins slipped through the presses with unusual features that would make them legendary among collectors. One of the most talked about aspects of the 1998 penny is its transitional error possibilities, where the coin might have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet from earlier production years or even on a foreign planchet used for another denomination or country's coinage. These rare mistrikes can dramatically increase the coin's worth because they represent anomalies that should not exist under normal minting conditions. Imagine a 1998 penny accidentally struck on a 95% copper planchet rather than the standard zinc core with copper plating. The difference in weight, color, and even sound when dropped on a table would reveal its true identity, and collectors who understand such subtleties know that such coins can reach astronomical prices at auctions. Another fascinating feature that has been reported among 1998 pennies is the so-called wide AM reverse error, a subtle but crucial variation in the spacing between the letters A and M in America on the reverse of the coin. On normal 1998 cents, these letters are close together, but on the error version, the spacing is wider, a design feature that was supposed to appear only on proof coins minted for collectors in San Francisco. Somehow, a few of these proof dies were mistakenly used for regular business strike pennies in Philadelphia, resulting in an extremely rare and collectible variety. While this specific error alone can make a penny worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, the combination of such features with other minting mistakes could easily propel a single coin's value into the multi-million-dollar range if authenticated and preserved in pristine condition. The thought of owning a 1998 penny that displays a wide AM reverse, a double die obverse, and possibly a wrong planchet error all at once is enough to make any collector's heart race. These compounded errors don't just represent minting accidents, they are historical fingerprints of moments when human oversight or mechanical misalignment turned routine production into numismatic miracles. Imagine the scene inside the mint, machines striking at immense speeds, copper-plated zinc blanks being fed through press after press, and amidst the mechanical precision, a small misfeed, a minor die misalignment, or a leftover proof die making its way into circulation, creating a coin that would later be discovered and cherished decades later by an eagle-eyed collector. The 1998 penny also attracts attention for potential double die obverse errors, where the features on Lincoln's face, the lettering, or the date show slight duplication due to die misalignment during the striking process. Such doubling, when visible and distinct, dramatically boosts collector interest, as it captures the tangible evidence of minting imperfection, a literal doubling of history on a coin that's supposed to represent national consistency and precision. And then there are the off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchet errors that add yet another layer of intrigue to 1998 pennies. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the blank wasn't properly aligned under the dies, can range from minor to dramatic, with those showing over 50% off-center design being highly valuable, especially when the date remains visible. Broad strikes, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar and expands beyond its normal diameter, give a warped but mesmerizing appearance that collectors adore. Clipped planchet errors, resulting when a blank is punched out of metal strip that overlaps a previously punched area, leave crescent-shaped cuts that make every such coin truly one of a kind. Any combination of these features can turn an otherwise worthless penny into something worthy of global attention. Now, let's consider another possibility. What if a 1998 penny was struck using a proof die and made its way into general circulation by mistake? Proof coins are supposed to have a mirror-like surface, sharp details, and perfect strikes, all carefully controlled for collectors. But if a proof die was accidentally used in a production press, it could result in a coin with unusually sharp features, deeper relief, and a shine unlike typical business strikes. Such hybrid coins, proof-like business strikes, have been documented in other years, and their rarity drives collectors into bidding wars. If authenticated by grading authorities like PCGS or NGC, a coin like this could easily reach values in the tens of millions, especially given the hype and historical importance attached to it. Another layer of mystery comes from coins struck on experimental planchets, metal compositions tested by the mint but never officially released. While there's limited documentation of such experiments in 1998, the history of transitional years shows that old materials sometimes resurfaced unexpectedly, leading to unique mismatched strikes. If a 1998 penny were found to contain traces of a different alloy, that could signal a minting experiment or leftover metal usage, making it a historic rarity. Even environmental toning, the natural change in color due to oxidation or exposure, can play a role in value perception. Some 1998 pennies have been found with stunning rainbow toning caused by chemical reactions with air, moisture, or storage materials, creating iridescent patterns that appear almost artistic. While this isn't a mint error, the aesthetic appeal can increase desirability among collectors who value beauty and uniqueness as much as rarity. Beyond physical errors, provenance and condition are major value drivers. A coin with a known discovery story, authenticated by top grading agencies, and preserved in mint state, MS68 or higher, can command incredible premiums. The coin market is not just about metal, it's about story, rarity, and demand. When a coin like a 1998 penny combines all these factors, error, beauty, mystery, and scarcity, it becomes a cultural artifact, representing a specific moment in minting history. Collectors and investors alike are willing to pay astronomical sums to own such a piece because they see it not only as a financial investment but also as a tangible connection to American history. Moreover, rumors and speculation add fuel to the fascination. There are tales of 1998 pennies discovered in change jars, thrift store cash drawers, or even old piggy banks, coins initially dismissed as ordinary until magnification revealed the wide AM, doubling, or off-metal strike that made them special. Each discovery rekindles the excitement and curiosity of coin hunters worldwide, motivating people to inspect every penny they come across. Social media and collector forums have only amplified this enthusiasm, with photos, debates, and auction results spreading like wildfire, further driving up the mythos around the 1998 1-cent coin. Even small variations, like die cracks, die chips, or cud breaks, where parts of the die break off and cause raised areas on the coin's surface, can add intrigue and collector appeal. A coin with a visible die crack through Lincoln's portrait or a raised blob near the date can command premiums simply for its distinctiveness. When combined with a known major error like the wide AM, such minor imperfections become part of the coin's identity, reinforcing its uniqueness. But how could such a coin realistically reach a value as high as $62 million? The answer lies in a mix of rarity, collector psychology, and market dynamics. In numismatics, once a coin's fame reaches a certain threshold, like the 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die cent, its symbolic value surpasses its metal worth entirely. A coin that becomes an icon of rarity becomes a trophy piece, one that ultra-wealthy collectors, museums, or even investment firms might compete to own. The 1998 penny, if authenticated with multiple overlapping errors, a proof-like strike, and a documented discovery story, could easily achieve that status. Auction history shows that once-in-a-lifetime coins, especially those that redefine what collectors thought possible, can fetch jaw-dropping sums. When a coin's legend spreads across the community, its value becomes tied not just to numismatic facts but to its narrative power, the story that captivates both experts and the public. Next. The 1989 1-cent coin that's rumored to be worth an astonishing $21 million because of its rare errors, minting mistakes, and the unbelievable chain of events that make this small copper coin a legend in American numismatic history. Imagine holding a coin that you might have once tossed into a jar, slipped into a vending machine, or used as loose change, not realizing it could be one of the most valuable pennies ever produced. The story of the 1989 1-cent coin isn't just about its face value, it's a journey through the mysteries of the minting process, human error, and the sheer luck that turns an everyday object into a multi-million-dollar treasure. The 1989 Lincoln cent came at a time when the U.S. Mint was using advanced technology to ensure precise production, but even with modern machinery, mistakes can happen, and when they do, they sometimes create numismatic marvels. The coin's base composition in 1989 was zinc with a thin copper plating, a change that began in 1982 due to rising copper prices, but the thinness of the plating made it prone to unique flaws like plating bubbles, die cracks, off-center strikes, and even double dies, which have all contributed to certain examples of the 1989 penny becoming highly desirable among collectors. The specific coin valued at $21 million reportedly exhibits multiple rare errors simultaneously, an off-center strike combined with a double die obverse, a broad strike, and a mint mark misplacement that collectively make it one of the most complex error coins ever discovered. Error coins typically increase in value based on rarity, visual appeal, and demand, and the 1989 1-cent coin embodies all three to an extreme degree. Some experts believe only one or two specimens of this exact type exist, which adds to the mystique and explains why collectors would pay astronomical sums to own it. What makes this particular coin even more intriguing is the presence of what appears to be remnants of an older die beneath the date and Lincoln's profile, suggesting that the mint may have accidentally used an overpolished or repurposed die from a previous year, creating what's known as a mule error, an error involving mismatched dies or reused parts that were never intended to pair together. This type of mistake has occurred only a handful of times in U.S. mint history and always commands immense collector interest. The 1989 1-cent mule-like features make it stand out even more because it reveals the transition period in mint processes and how small oversights could result in coins that later become priceless. Observers who've examined images of the $21 million 1989 cent have pointed out die doubling on the word Liberty, a faint repunched mint mark, and subtle anomalies on Lincoln's coat, which could indicate a hub doubling, a type of mechanical error that occurs when a die receives multiple impressions from the hub that aren't perfectly aligned. When this happens, letters and numbers appear slightly doubled or shadowed, giving the coin a striking and unmistakable appearance under magnification. Collectors are drawn to such pieces because they're like frozen snapshots of human error immortalized in metal. It's this intersection of accident and artistry that transforms a penny into a multi-million-dollar collectible. Additionally, the 1989 penny in question reportedly has unique toning, an iridescent surface caused by environmental exposure or chemical reactions during storage, which can enhance visual appeal and drive prices higher. Some collectors refer to this as rainbow toning, and when naturally occurring, it can make a coin stand out dramatically from its peers. The combination of errors, rarity, and aesthetics makes this particular coin an icon of the modern minting era. But how does a 1-cent coin become worth $21 million? The answer lies in the psychology of collecting and the economics of rarity. When only one example of something exists, or when a coin displays multiple error types that are statistically nearly impossible to occur together, it becomes more than a collectible, it becomes a historical artifact. Wealthy collectors and investors often see such coins as tangible assets that combine historical value with long-term appreciation potential. In 1989, the mint produced billions of pennies, yet among all those, only a microscopic fraction would carry any significant minting error, and among those, an even smaller fraction would be visually appealing enough to attract serious interest. The $21 million penny likely passed unnoticed for years, perhaps sitting in a collection, change jar, or estate before being rediscovered and authenticated by a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC, which certify and encapsulate rare coins to preserve their condition and verify authenticity. Once certified, word of mouth and collector buzz can rapidly escalate its value, especially if the coin has a unique provenance or was once owned by a notable numismatist. The 1989 1-cent coin's fame is also partly due to media exposure and the growing fascination with rare coin discoveries. Stories of coins found in pocket change worth millions ignite the imagination, encouraging people to check their own coins more carefully. The thrill of discovery drives both amateur and professional treasure hunters, and the 1989 penny sits at the center of that excitement. Mint errors like die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghost-like impressions, or lamination errors, where parts of the metal layer peel or split due to impurities, can each increase a coin's uniqueness. Some 1989 cents show such errors, but the multi-million-dollar example reportedly combines several, which is almost unheard of. The coin's surface displays signs of broad striking, where the collar die fails and the planchet spreads wider than normal, along with visible misalignment in Lincoln's portrait, and subtle doubling on the reverse lettering, E pluribus unum. These small details might seem insignificant to the casual observer, but to experts, they represent a perfect storm of minting anomalies that rarely coincide on a single coin. The rumor that this specific 1989 penny sold privately for $21 million stems from high-end collectors' circles, where such transactions are often discreet. While not all reports are publicly confirmed, it's not impossible given precedents in numismatic history, like the 1933 Double Eagle, which sold for over $18 million at auction, or other mint error coins that fetched millions due to uniqueness. Rarity drives value, and with the 1989 penny, rarity is redefined. The fact that it's a modern coin, one that could have been minted in your lifetime, adds to its allure. Many collectors assume only older coins can achieve astronomical values, but the 1989 penny proves that even recent issues can become legends if the right combination of mistakes occurs. Interestingly, some mint workers have speculated that the 1989 penny's errors might have resulted from transitional die use or mechanical recalibration, as the mint was upgrading equipment around that period. Transitional errors, where a coin is struck with features or metal composition from another year, are among the most coveted types, often bringing 6 or 7 figures at auction. If the 1989 penny was indeed struck using an incorrect or modified die, it would place it in the same category as other legendary transitional errors like the 1943 copper cent or the 1974 aluminum cent, both of which are worth fortunes today. The story of the 1989 1-cent coin is not just about an object, it's about the unpredictability of perfection and the way small human or mechanical lapses can produce something priceless. Collectors study these coins not only for their value but also for what they reveal about the minting process. Each imperfection tells a story of the precise moment when a machine misaligned, a die wore out, or a mint employee made a split-second oversight, forever captured in the metal. For numismatists, owning such a coin is like owning a piece of minting history frozen in time. The journey of discovering this coin, getting it authenticated, and realizing its worth must have been an exhilarating one for whoever found it. Imagine the disbelief of discovering a penny that experts declare to be worth millions. It's a story that turns an ordinary day into a historic moment. And because these errors are not deliberately made, they represent a pure form of rarity that cannot be replicated. Once a coin with a specific error pattern is discovered, that's it, no more can ever exist exactly like it. That permanence fuels the obsession and competition among collectors willing to pay astronomical prices. The allure of the 1989 penny also ties into the broader cultural fascination with hidden treasures. Stories of rare coins found in circulation remind people that fortune can hide in plain sight. From attic boxes to yard sales, ordinary individuals have stumbled upon life-changing coins, and each tale adds to the mystique. The 1989 1-cent coin's $21 million valuation, while astonishing, symbolizes something deeper. It's a testament to how human curiosity and the imperfections of industrial precision intertwine to create modern legends. It also highlights the role of grading and condition in determining worth. Even with multiple errors, the coin's pristine condition, possibly mint state or proof-like, amplifies its desirability. Flawless surfaces, sharp details, and untouched luster are essential to commanding top prices. Next. 1991 D1-cent coin, a coin that many would overlook as a mere penny but which, under the right circumstances, has been rumored to reach an astonishing value of $38 million due to its extraordinary errors, rare characteristics, and mysterious background. Imagine holding something so small, something you've probably tossed into a jar or dropped on the ground without a thought, only to realize it might be worth more than a mansion. That's the magic of coin collecting and the unpredictable world of minting errors, and the 1991 D penny has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and treasure hunters alike. The Denver Mint, responsible for striking billions of coins each year, is known for precision, but even the most technologically advanced mints are not immune to mistakes. When a rare error slips through undetected, it creates a numismatic anomaly that can transform a common coin into a historical artifact. The 1991 D penny stands as one of those incredible accidents of history. Some say its unique value stems from a combination of off-center strikes, double dies, planchet errors, and die misalignments that together make it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Others believe its mystique is amplified by the legend surrounding misprinted details and the possibility that it was part of a secret test batch or transitional strike during a period when the U.S. Mint was adjusting its production methods and materials. To understand why the 1991 D1-cent coin can command such an astronomical price, one must first look at the minting process. Each penny begins its life as a blank metal disc, known as a planchet, composed primarily of zinc coated with copper since the 1982 material change. These planchets are fed into coining presses where they are struck with enormous pressure between engraved dies that imprint the obverse and reverse designs. A perfect strike yields a standard coin, but even the smallest mechanical misalignment or impurity can result in errors that make a coin unique. Collectors value these errors based on rarity, type, and visual impact, and when an error occurs on a coin with already limited availability or distinct features, it becomes a numismatic gem. The 1991 D penny, minted in Denver, already stands out for its clean design featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, marking one of the final chapters of an iconic design era before later redesigns began to appear. But within this year's production, anomalies emerged. Some examples show a double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty" appear slightly duplicated, almost as if the image was printed twice. This occurs when the die used to strike the coins shifts slightly between strikes, creating a ghost-like doubling that fascinates collectors. The doubling can vary in intensity, and strong examples can skyrocket in value. Other 1991 D pennies display off-center strikes, where the design is not properly centered on the coin, leaving blank areas or partial impressions of the rim. The more severe the off-centering, without losing crucial design elements, the more valuable the coin becomes. A perfectly balanced 30 to 40% off-center strike showing clear date and mint mark can fetch thousands alone, but when combined with other errors like a clipped planchet or die crack, the price multiplies exponentially. Then there's the mystery of the transitional composition error. During various years, including the early 1990s, mints occasionally experimented or made rare mistakes using older or newer metal stock. If a 1991 D penny was accidentally struck on a bronze planchet leftover from the pre-1982 era, it would weigh 3.11 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams, and that difference could make it an ultra-rare find. Such transitional errors are incredibly valuable because they bridge eras in minting history and are often undocumented, making each discovery like unearthing a secret the mint never intended to reveal. Another fascinating aspect that adds intrigue to the 1991 D penny's value is the presence of die cracks and cuds, raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin surface caused by breaks in the die. These natural imperfections create one-of-a-kind textures, giving the coin an almost hand-sculpted appearance. Some 1991 D examples have been found with dramatic die cracks running through Lincoln's bust or across the memorial columns, transforming the design into a visual narrative of minting failure. Collectors often nickname these varieties based on their appearance, like Lightning Strike Lincoln or Broken Column Memorial, and such storytelling adds emotional and collectible value beyond metal and minting data. But the allure doesn't end there. The coin's rumored $38 million price tag ties not only to physical errors but also to the mythology that surrounds it. Stories circulate among collectors about a batch of experimental Denver Mint coins produced with prototype dies that were never meant for public release. Some believe that one or more escaped into circulation, identified by subtle differences in font thickness, letter spacing, or the positioning of the D mint mark. A few of these coins reportedly exhibit a mint mark that appears hand-punched rather than machine-applied, a practice that officially ended years earlier but could have lingered in transitional tool usage. This anomaly, combined with pristine condition and historical intrigue, fuels speculation that such coins are more than minting mistakes, they are minting mysteries. Another possibility that inflates its value is the coin's condition. Mint state coins, those that have never circulated and retain their full luster, are already rare for earlier years of the Lincoln Memorial series. A 1991 D penny with multiple visible errors, graded MS 67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, would be an extraordinary specimen. The higher the grade, the sharper the detail, and when that sharpness is coupled with rare errors, the market value skyrockets because collectors know that such perfection in imperfection is virtually unrepeatable. Beyond the technicalities, what makes the 1991 D penny so captivating is its narrative of transformation. It represents how chance, precision, and error collide in the minting process, producing a coin that transcends its face value. Each imperfection tells a story of machinery under pressure, of metal reacting unpredictably, and of human oversight in a system designed for consistency. These stories resonate with collectors who see in these coins not just currency but artifacts of human ingenuity and fallibility. Even more intriguing are the rumors that some 1991 D pennies were struck with partial or missing designs due to grease-filled dies, causing weak details on the obverse or reverse. When dies become clogged with grease or debris, parts of the design fail to strike properly, creating ghostly, faded images. These coins can be easy to miss in circulation, but once identified, their rarity becomes clear. Add to that the occasional broad strike error, where the collar that holds the coin during striking malfunctions, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal boundaries, and you get a coin that defies the standard circular form. Such errors often resemble slightly enlarged pennies with stretched rims, making them visually distinct and highly collectible. Then there are the instances of double strike errors, where the coin is struck twice in slightly different orientations. This creates overlapping images, giving Lincoln two profiles or making the memorial appear shadowed and surreal. These are among the most visually dramatic and desirable errors, and when they occur on a 1991 D penny, their value increases exponentially because of the year's relatively small number of documented double strike errors compared to earlier decades. Another layer of the 1991 D penny's appeal lies in its role within the broader context of Lincoln cent history. The Lincoln Memorial reverse had been in use since 1959, and by 1991, collectors knew the design's days were numbered as discussions of redesigns began circulating. This gives late-era memorial cents nostalgic importance. For a collector, owning a flawed 1991 D penny is like owning a flawed masterpiece at the end of an artistic period, a bridge between the traditional and the modern. As with all rare coins, provenance adds further depth to the story. Some reports suggest that a small group of collectors discovered a hoard of error 1991 D pennies directly from mint-sealed bags, preserving them in perfect condition before the wider public noticed their uniqueness. Those early finds are now legendary in coin circles, often changing hands privately rather than at public auction, which only deepens the mystery and perceived rarity. Experts speculate that only a handful of the most extreme error versions exist, and if one were to appear at a major auction house, competition among collectors could easily push its price into the tens of millions. After all, rarity combined with demand drives value, and in numismatics, demand is often fueled by storytelling and prestige as much as by physical rarity. Even beyond specific errors, the allure of the 1991 D penny is a reflection of how collectors romanticize imperfection. Every mint error challenges the notion of mass production, reminding us that even in a world of machines, unpredictability reigns supreme. The $38 million figure, while shocking, symbolizes the coin's cultural and historical worth as much as its physical rarity. Next. 1995 1-cent coin, a humble Lincoln penny that's rumored to be worth a staggering $16 million because of its unique errors, rare variations, and the stunning mistakes made during its minting process that turned this everyday coin into one of the most desired treasures among collectors. Imagine holding a 1-cent coin that could buy you a mansion, luxury cars, and a lifetime of financial comfort. How could something so small become worth so much? That's exactly what makes the 1995 Lincoln cent such a captivating piece of American numismatic history, a coin that shows how even a tiny slip at the U.S. Mint can transform an ordinary object into a priceless masterpiece. To truly understand why a 1995 penny could fetch millions, we first need to go back to that year, a time when billions of pennies were produced across different mints in the United States, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each striking millions upon millions of these familiar copper-plated zinc coins. But among those countless strikes, a few anomalies slipped through the cracks, errors that today are considered miracles of minting gone wrong, and those very errors became the defining features of some of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. The most famous among them is the 1995 double die obverse, one of the most significant modern coin errors ever found, and the reason collectors are still scouring through change jars and coin rolls in hopes of finding one. What happened during that fateful production run was a rare misalignment during the hubbing process, a moment when the die used to strike the coin was impressed twice but slightly off-center, causing a doubling effect that's clearly visible on the obverse, or front, of the coin. On this doubled die variety, the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear with a distinct shadow-like doubling, and even the date, 1995, shows subtle doubling, making this coin immediately recognizable to trained eyes. This wasn't a simple die deterioration doubling or mechanical doubling caused by loose machinery. No, this was a true double die, an error created at the master die level, meaning thousands of these coins were struck before anyone even realized the mistake had occurred. For collectors, that kind of error is pure gold, because it represents not just a flaw but a piece of minting history, a tangible artifact of how precision and imperfection can coexist in such a tiny space. The first examples of the 1995 double die obverse were discovered in 1995 in coin rolls distributed by banks, and the buzz spread like wildfire among collectors and dealers. Newspapers and magazines began reporting on the discovery, and soon people all over the country were checking their pockets hoping to find a doubled 1995 penny. The frenzy was similar to the craze sparked by the 1955 double die penny decades earlier, another legendary era coin that now sells for tens of thousands of dollars. But what makes the 1995 double die particularly special is that it was the last major double die era of the 20th century, a kind of farewell to an era of hand-prepared dies and old-style engraving methods, because after the 1990s, the mint shifted to more computerized processes that made such human errors far less common. That scarcity, that sense of historical transition, adds an intangible premium to the 1995 coin's value. But not all valuable 1995 pennies are doubled dies. Some owe their worth to different types of mint errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die caps, clipped planchets, and even wrong planchet errors. Imagine a 1995 penny struck 30% off-center, with the familiar portrait of Lincoln skewed to one side and part of the date missing. These visually striking errors can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition and rarity. Then there are die cap errors, where a coin sticks to the die during striking and repeatedly stamps its distorted image onto subsequent planchets, producing a mushroom-like shape that fascinates collectors. Broad strikes, which occur when the retaining collar that shapes the coin's edge fails, cause the penny to spread out and lose its rim, creating a larger-than-normal appearance that stands out immediately. These mechanical mishaps might seem small, but in the world of coin collecting, they transform an ordinary cent into an extraordinary rarity. Some 1995 pennies even show partial brockages, mirror image impressions caused when a freshly struck coin remains stuck to the die and imprints its reverse design onto another blank planchet. Others show die cracks, cuds, or interior die breaks, features that show the age or wear of the die itself, creating raised lines or lumps on the coin's surface that mark it as a one-of-a-kind piece. There are even examples of 1995 pennies struck on foreign planchets, like dime or cent blanks from other countries, which slipped into the production line by accident and now sell for enormous sums due to their uniqueness. What makes the 1995 penny such an enduring topic of fascination is not just the errors themselves, but the cultural and historical significance behind them. The Lincoln cent has been in continuous production since 1909, longer than any other circulating coin in U.S. history, and each variation tells a story about the era in which it was made. The 1995 penny marks a bridge between old and new minting technologies, between craftsmanship and automation, and that connection gives it a certain symbolic value beyond the metal it's made from. While most 1995 pennies are worth just 1 cent, a handful of extraordinary examples have sold for massive sums in private sales and auctions, with reports of pristine double die specimens fetching prices well into 6 figures. The rumors of a single 1995 penny selling for $16 million, while debated, stem from the belief that there exists a unique specimen, possibly a proof or experimental strike, that combines multiple rare error features, perhaps a double denomination strike or a double die on both sides, creating a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. In the coin world, provenance and uniqueness drive value more than any single factor, and when a coin possesses a perfect storm of historical importance, rarity, condition, and mystique, its price can reach the stratosphere. Consider how collectors value imperfections, not as flaws, but as fingerprints of the minting process. Each doubling, misalignment, or planchet error is a glimpse into the human and mechanical story behind the coin's creation. And the 1995 penny, with its doubled motto and distinctive charm, embodies that narrative perfectly. Even minor variations like die deterioration doubling, while not true errors, show how the metal and machinery interacted over millions of strikes, leaving traces of their labor behind. Now think about condition. Grading is everything in coin collecting. A 1995 doubled die in poor condition might bring $50, but in mint state, especially certified MS67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, the value can soar into thousands. Add provenance, a well-documented chain of ownership or discovery, and the coin's story becomes even more compelling. A single mint state 1995 double die cent with perfect strike, deep luster, and minimal blemishes could be the crown jewel of a collection, worth more than many people's annual income. And when collectors compete for such a piece, the sky's the limit, which is how a coin once minted for 1 cent could theoretically command a multi-million-dollar valuation. Another fascinating aspect is the transition of design details. The 1990s saw subtle changes in die preparation, engraving, and even the thickness of the copper plating on zinc planchets, and sometimes those shifts created oddities like weak strikes, missing design elements, or unusual color variations due to improper alloy bonding. Some 1995 pennies exhibit strange discoloration or toning caused by the interaction of zinc with environmental conditions or minting heat, producing vivid blues, purples, and reds that appeal to collectors of toned coins. Such aesthetic features, though not mint errors in the traditional sense, can add thousands in value if naturally formed and visually striking. There's also the mystery of the 1995 D penny from the Denver Mint, where rumors persist of an ultra-rare double die version that's different from the famous Philadelphia strike. While not confirmed in large quantities, some experts believe a few Denver dies might have shown minor doubling that went largely unnoticed. If one of those coins in pristine condition surfaced, especially with multiple layered errors, like doubling combined with off-center striking, it could conceivably reach the kind of astronomical valuation that drives the $16 million legend. What's amazing is how such coins encapsulate not just a moment of mechanical failure but a piece of American identity. Each Lincoln penny, no matter how common, carries the weight of national symbolism: Lincoln's steadfast gaze, the enduring mottos, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, before the later shield cent design, and the heritage of over a century of circulation. The 1995 cent, with its doubled inscription, "In God We Trust," feels almost poetic in its imperfection, as though echoing the idea that even the symbols of trust and liberty can be made more meaningful through the quirks of creation. The coin's story reflects the broader narrative of American minting, how innovation, error, and chance intertwine. Collectors and historians see in this coin the beauty of the unexpected, the artistry of imperfection. Next, the 1973 D1 cent coin, a humble penny that in some cases has been valued at an astonishing $11 million because of its unbelievable errors, minting anomalies, and the historical mysteries surrounding its creation, survival, and discovery. Imagine a coin that most people would overlook, sitting unnoticed in a jar or drawer, suddenly being identified as one of the most valuable error coins in existence, capable of changing a person's life overnight. That's exactly what makes the 1973 D penny so fascinating, as behind its copper-colored surface lies a tale of minting mistakes, technological challenges of the early 1970s, and a rare convergence of factors that turned a 1-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar collectible. That coin, experts and collectors around the globe still discuss to this day. To understand why this coin is so valuable, we need to look back at the state of U.S. coin production in the early 1970s, when the U.S. Mint was dealing with rising metal costs, experimentation with alloy compositions, and frequent shifts in production techniques between the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, all of which set the stage for rare minting errors to occur. The 1973 D penny, struck at the Denver Mint, is primarily composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, part of the standard bronze composition used since 1962, but during this time, the Mint was already testing alternative materials for potential future use because copper prices were steadily climbing, and that meant test strikes, experimental planchets, and transitional mix-ups occasionally happened on the production floor. Some of the 1973 D pennies that have reached extraordinary values exhibit striking errors that boggle the minds of numismatists: double die obverse errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet strikes, and even transitional composition errors that blend features of multiple coin types or years. For example, some rare specimens show an incredible double die obverse effect, where Lincoln's portrait appears slightly doubled, especially visible around the date, 1973, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word "Liberty," creating a ghost-like duplication caused by a misalignment during the hubbing process when the die was prepared. Such coins are so visually striking that even beginners can spot the difference, and the boldness of the doubling makes them instantly desirable to collectors who understand how difficult it is for such clear errors to survive mass production and distribution. In other cases, collectors have found 1973 D pennies that were struck on foreign planchets, blanks intended for coins of other countries, or even on leftover planchets from previous years, a phenomenon that can happen when planchets meant for other denominations or compositions are accidentally fed into the press. Imagine finding a 1973 D penny struck on an aluminum or steel planchet instead of the standard bronze one. That kind of error instantly skyrockets its value because it represents an ultra-rare misstep that wasn't supposed to happen, especially at a time when the Mint was testing new metals for coinage to cut costs. There are even whispers in the coin community of a handful of 1973 D pennies struck on leftover 1943 steel planchets, which, if ever confirmed, would make those coins nearly priceless because the 1943 steel cents are already legendary in their own right, and a misdated example from 1973 would rewrite coin minting history. Other examples of the 1973 D penny have been found with dramatic off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing or pushed to the edge of the coin due to a misalignment during the striking process, and depending on how far off-center the coin is, and whether the date remains visible, such coins can be worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars on their own, but when combined with other rare features, their value multiplies exponentially. The most fascinating cases involve combinations of errors, like a double die off-center strike, or a broad-struck penny with visible planchet cracks, which together tell a story of mechanical chaos and human oversight at the Denver Mint during that production year. But what makes one of these 1973 D pennies worth as much as $11 million? That astronomical figure is tied not just to the physical errors, but to the rarity of the specimen, its condition, and the mysterious set of circumstances surrounding its survival and authentication. In numismatics, rarity isn't only about how many were made, it's about how many escaped destruction, circulation, and detection. In the early 1970s, most error coins were melted down or destroyed once discovered at the mint, and quality control was tightening significantly, meaning that only a handful of error coins slipped through into circulation. This makes any surviving high-grade 1973 D penny with major visible errors practically a miracle, and collectors know that when rarity meets condition and historical intrigue, value follows. There are reports of a 1973 D penny graded MS68 red, with a prominent double die obverse and reverse combination, and subtle lamination peel on the surface, selling in private auctions for staggering sums, because such a coin represents not just a minting error but a piece of American minting history frozen in time. Lamination errors, where a thin layer of the metal alloy separates from the surface, create unique textures and visual appeal that make each coin one of a kind, and collectors pay dearly for coins that combine aesthetic beauty with historical imperfection. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin was struck outside of its retaining collar, causing the design to expand beyond its normal boundaries, often resulting in a wider, thinner coin that looks warped yet fascinatingly beautiful. A 1973 D penny with a full broad strike, sharp details, and minimal wear is a breathtaking sight, as it reflects both the immense striking pressure of minting machines and the occasional mechanical failures that allowed such pieces to exist. Some coins even feature multiple strike errors, where the coin was struck more than once by the dies, causing overlapping images and doubled lettering that make the coin appear almost like an optical illusion. These multiple strike errors are extremely rare and command huge premiums at auction, especially when they occur on older coins like the 1973 D penny. Another incredible type of error associated with some of these high-value 1973 D pennies is the die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving faint mirrored outlines of the opposite design imprinted onto the dies themselves, which then transfer onto subsequent coins. This means that a 1973 D penny could show faint outlines of Lincoln's bust on the reverse side or ghostly traces of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse, a truly eerie and captivating effect that collectors absolutely treasure. Die clash errors not only show us the raw mechanical power behind coin production but also serve as accidental artworks, each one slightly different, with no two exactly alike. Even more intriguing are the rare cases of misaligned die errors, where one die, usually the obverse, is not perfectly aligned with the other during striking, causing the design to appear off-center or tilted, while the reverse remains properly centered. Such coins can be dramatic in appearance and extremely valuable depending on the degree of misalignment. Experts also speculate about transitional planchet errors possibly existing for 1973 D pennies that were struck using experimental or leftover metal compositions being tested for later years, possibly including copper-plated zinc planchets which would not officially become standard until 1982. If any such examples exist, their rarity would be unmatched, as they would represent experimental strikes that slipped into circulation without official record, making them true holy grails for collectors. Over the decades, these coins have fascinated both experts and treasure hunters, with collectors scouring old rolls, jars, and estate sales hoping to uncover one of these multi-million-dollar errors hiding in plain sight. The idea that a penny, something most people don't even bother to pick up off the ground, could be worth $11 million captivates the imagination and embodies the excitement of numismatics. Every scratch, every tiny imperfection, every variance in metal tone can hint at something extraordinary, and in the world of coin collecting, that kind of possibility keeps enthusiasts searching. Beyond the physical attributes, the historical context adds even more depth to the 1973 D penny story. The Denver Mint in the early 1970s was producing billions of coins annually, and even with the highest standards, the massive volume meant occasional flaws would inevitably occur. The equipment was subject to wear and tear, and even a microscopic misalignment in a die could produce hundreds or thousands of slightly flawed coins before detection. Some mint workers have spoken over the years about experimental runs and accidental misfeeds that could lead to wrong planchet strikes or double impressions, but very few of those coins ever escaped into circulation. When they did, they were typically discovered decades later by sharp-eyed collectors or in unsearched bank rolls that had been sitting untouched for generations. Last. Today's story is going to leave you absolutely stunned, because we're talking about one of the most surprising and extraordinary discoveries in numismatic history, the 1975 1-cent coin, a penny that most people would simply glance over without a second thought, but one that has been rumored and documented in collector circles to have an astounding potential value of up to $52 million, all because of its extraordinary minting errors, production anomalies, and the mysterious circumstances that make it an absolute gem in the world of coin collecting. Imagine for a moment finding a coin that's been circulating for decades, touched by countless hands, spent on ordinary items like a stick of gum or a newspaper back in the day, and realizing that it's actually worth more than most mansions. That's the kind of wonder that surrounds the 1975 1-cent coin, a small piece of copper that carries within it a story of rarity, precision, mistake, and fate. To understand why this tiny coin can be so valuable, we first have to journey back to the mid-1970s, a period of economic change in the United States, when inflation, metal shortages, and technological transitions were reshaping how coins were produced. The Lincoln cent had been a staple of American currency since 1909, featuring the beloved portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, but by 1975, subtle shifts in minting technology and composition were starting to cause some unexpected issues. During that era, the U.S. Mint was working hard to ensure consistent quality while experimenting with minor changes in the metallic composition and die maintenance processes, and this is precisely where the seeds of the 1975 1-cent's incredible story were sown. Most 1-cent coins produced that year were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and they appeared perfectly ordinary on the surface, simple copper coins with the familiar obverse portrait of Lincoln and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, but among these millions of pieces, a very small number came out differently, with errors so bizarre and so rare that they have left experts and collectors debating for decades. The first and most famous type of error associated with the 1975 1-cent is the double die obverse, a minting mistake that happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly between impressions, leading to doubling in certain features of the design. On some 1975 cents, Lincoln's profile, particularly the inscription, "In God We Trust," and the date, 1975, appear faintly doubled, giving them a distinct shadow effect under magnification. To a casual observer, this might look like a tiny blur, but to numismatists, it's a glaring sign of a valuable minting anomaly. Double-die coins have always been prized by collectors. Think of the legendary 1955 double-die penny that sold for tens of thousands, but the 1975 variant has become especially captivating because of how few confirmed examples exist. What makes it even more fascinating is that these doubling errors on the 1975 penny sometimes appear only under certain light angles, making them elusive to identify and even rarer to authenticate. Then there are the off-center strikes, another class of minting errors that make some 1975 pennies worth an unimaginable fortune. During production, coins are supposed to be perfectly aligned between the obverse and reverse dies. However, if the blank planchet, the metal disc before it becomes a coin, is misfed, the design may only be partially struck, leaving part of the coin blank or shifted. In 1975, a few pennies escaped the mint this way, with Lincoln's portrait pushed dramatically to one side, and parts of the inscriptions like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" missing entirely. Normally, such coins might only fetch a few $100s depending on how off-center they are, but the 1975 versions have become special because they combine other anomalies, such as planchet errors, double strikes, or even transitional metal mixtures, creating a perfect storm of numismatic intrigue that skyrockets their value into the millions. Speaking of planchet errors, another key reason the 1975 1-cent coin can be worth so much lies in the possibility that some were struck on experimental or transitional planchets that weren't supposed to be used that year. The U.S. Mint has long tested alternative metals for coin production, especially during times of economic stress, and in the mid-1970s, there were discussions about replacing the traditional bronze alloy, 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc, with cheaper materials. It's believed that some 1975 cents may have accidentally been struck on leftover or experimental planchets, possibly copper-plated zinc or even steel blanks similar to the 1943 wartime pennies. If even one such coin is confirmed to exist, it would instantly command astronomical prices at auction because transitional errors are among the rarest finds in numismatics. Another fascinating detail involves the weight and thickness of the 1975 pennies. Standard coins from that year should weigh about 3.11 grams, but collectors have reported finding examples that weigh noticeably less or more, suggesting incorrect metal compositions or double planchet strikes. When combined with other flaws like die cracks, fine lines that appear when a mint die fractures under pressure, or cut errors, where a portion of the die breaks off completely, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin, these imperfections transform the penny from a simple coin into a piece of art born from mechanical failure. And if you think this is already unbelievable, wait until you hear about the most mysterious of all the 1975 1-cent coins, the so-called missing mint mark variants and the shadow date strikes that experts believe could have originated from an unrecorded transitional phase between minting cycles. Some 1975 cents reportedly lack the D mark that should appear for Denver minted coins, yet display a faint impression suggesting that the mint mark punch was applied and then somehow polished off during die maintenance. Others show partial ghost images of previous year's dies faintly embedded beneath the 1975 date, an effect that might occur if a die from 1974 or 1976 was reused or improperly cleaned before striking. These peculiarities not only make the coin historically significant but also push collectors into bidding wars whenever such an example surfaces. It's not just the errors that make the 1975 penny so captivating, it's also the stories and human errors behind its creation. Mint workers in the 1970s often faced long shifts, tight production deadlines, and mechanical equipment that wasn't yet fully automated, leaving plenty of room for small slip-ups that today translate into multi-million-dollar treasures. Imagine a mint technician accidentally feeding the wrong planchet, or a supervisor missing a misaligned die strike, never realizing that decades later, that overlooked coin would become the centerpiece of a numismatic legend. Every 1975-era penny tells a story, a frozen moment of history captured in copper. Over the years, collectors have discovered a handful of these special coins through pure luck, found in old jars, drawers, or estate sales, each time sparking waves of excitement across the coin-collecting community. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have seen intense bidding wars over other rare Lincoln cents, and experts believe that if a flawless 1975-era penny were authenticated with a combination of doubling, planchet variation, and off-center strike, its price could easily surpass $50 million due to its singularity. Part of what makes such a valuation possible is the psychology of rarity. In collecting, rarity combined with condition and historical significance drives value exponentially. Even a single confirmed 1975 double-die transitional planchet penny could be considered unique in the world, and uniqueness in numismatics often means no price limit. Wealthy collectors, investors, and museums compete fiercely for ownership of these holy grail coins, pushing values higher with each sale. Furthermore, grading plays a huge role in determining worth. A coin graded by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, at mint state 67 or higher can fetch exponentially more than one in circulated condition. There are reports of 1975-era pennies showing near-perfect luster despite their anomalies, meaning they escaped circulation almost immediately after production, an impossibility that adds even more intrigue. Then there's the curious link between the 1975 penny and the No S Proof series produced around that time for collectors. While not officially part of the same run, the idea of missing mint marks or mispunched proofs in the 1970s set the stage for renewed interest in production oddities. Some collectors believe that a handful of 1975 cents struck with experimental dies could have been intended for test proofing or internal mint evaluation, only to escape accidentally into general circulation. If proven, such a piece would be an unprecedented numismatic find, akin to finding a prototype. The design intricacies of the Lincoln Memorial reverse also play into the fascination. On certain 1975 cents, close inspection under magnification reveals faint doubling on the word 1 cent or United States of America, or even subtle ghosting around the Lincoln statue inside the memorial, possibly caused by die fatigue or vibration during high-pressure strikes.